Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Marcos from Equa Assist. He's an expert in all things Ecuador and Ecuador residency visas. So if you're ever curious about Ecuador as a residency and citizenship option, this is the episode for you. Marcos, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Ben. For me, it's a pleasure to share some information about immigration to Ecuador with your audience. And I think you're doing great. This almost 11 years now, right?
Yeah, the podcast. So we started off as a blog, My Latin Life. So the blog's been going about 10 years, and the website and the podcast. We've done over 250 episodes, and it's an honor to have you on because I know you've been in the Ecuador migration industry for a good amount of time yourself. How many years have you been doing this?
17 years now.
17 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we have done in our office over probably near 2,000 visas to Ecuador, from pensioners visa, investor visa, work visa, professional visas. And recently, 4 years ago, since the government implemented the digital nomad visa, we have started working with this type of visas.
That's cool. I don't hear much about the Ecuador digital nomad visa, so we'll have to come back to that. But I do want to hear a bit more about your background. Like, how did you kind of get into the immigration space and the visa space?
Oh well, that's very very funny. For me, years ago, I didn't know what the expat word mean. I had a couple of friends in Quito
Hmm.
where they actually own a bar. That this was the most famous and popular bar in Quito years ago. So I was hanging out with friends and I met one of the owners, and the administrator started asking me, Marcos, and he's more like a business minded person, and he asked me, you know, Ecuador has been the number one expat destination at international living. I have no idea what he was talking about. Yeah. So then they started inviting me because they have a couple properties on the coast. Quito is in the highlands in Ecuador, but they were inviting me several times because they know other expats living on the coast,
Yeah.
and they wanted to have me down there because somehow when I started going to this bar that my friends had, I became their lawyer. So they started trusting me for everything they were doing. And it was good because back in the days, I was young, but I was the lawyer of the bar. So I have VIP entry for all everything they did. But I mean, right now for me it's just like something amazing that I'm very thankful of the two of them because this is an industry that has been growing in Ecuador. But back in the days, I was invited to the coast, and they had a room full of gringos on the coast in a restaurant. They were waiting for the lawyer coming from Quito, and they start asking questions about immigration, how to incorporate a company, what contracts they should have for their employees, and other affairs, how to create business here in Ecuador. So for me, it was like, and that weekend, I made what I used to make in earnings in Quito. That weekend, only that weekend, I made like what I used to make in 1 month. So for me, it was a no brainer. So I just decided, okay, well, that's the way it is. So I moved down to the coast. I started from the scratch.
In what
Uh,
city?
in Bahia de Caracas.
Bahia. Okay.
Yeah, this is a couple hours north of Manta. So it was great. It was a great experience. It was a very very small town, and for me, it was like in few months I reached almost the cities nearby. The entire expat population, they start becoming my clients, and I need more. So I opened an office in Manta, then I opened an office in Cuenca. Then in Quito again, I went back to Quito to open an office, and finally I opened an office in Salinas. So
Mm.
it has been a market. It's a very very unique market. So every time I speak with my attorney friends,
Hmm.
mm, they I mean for them they never occurred to them to go into the expat market because it's a big market in Ecuador.
Okay, interesting. So being a lawyer, you went in the direction of real estate, and then real estate sort of naturally led to expats a little bit. Okay,
Yes.
cool. And I guess fast forwarding, for the people at home, for the audience, let's get to some juicy stuff that they would be interested in knowing about Ecuador. We were talking about offline about how Ecuador is very, very welcoming for foreigners and for Canadian and American expats. Why do you say that? Why is Ecuador particularly welcoming to North American expats?
Yeah. Well, what when I have the chance to speak in these international forums, there are five things about Ecuador. And I'm going to mention the four of them, and the final is the people. The four of them is the dollar, the weather, the quality of life, and the cost of living.
Hmm.
I mean, that's something people. I mean, that's fine for a lot of people. But there is something that is unique about Ecuador compared to other countries, and it's how welcoming Ecuadorians are towards North Americans. And this always amazed me. What was the reason of this? And one of the reasons I find out is because back in the time when President Kennedy took office and he was the president of the US, he created the Peace Corps volunteers.
Yep.
And since then, a lot of young North Americans, they started coming with help to Ecuador. Vitamins, medicines, medical brigades, teaching agriculture, teaching English. So, in the back of the minds for Ecuadorians, every time they see a North American, in their heads, it's just like people, these people are coming with help. They are good people. They are good people for us to be their neighbors.
Hmm.
So that's why Ecuadorians, I mean, they have this big heart towards North Americans because every time they see them, they associate them like, I mean, you're a good people. That doesn't happen towards other nationalities, like for example, people from Colombia or Venezuela. It's not because they're bad, but it's just because they're coming to this country probably to uh, get some jobs. But North Americans, they're always here to help. That's what is in the back of their minds. And I mean, if you go to a supermarket, you will make friends. If you go to the market, the lady who is selling you the fruits or selling you the fish, she's going to help you, or she's going to give you a recipe for you to cook. And also they will be inviting you to their home. Even if they don't know you, they will invite you to their quinceañeras, to their graduation of their niece, and they want to introduce you as the gringo friend of the family. So they they want to be proud of having you in their families. So that's something that is very unique that I have spoke with other of my clients, expats, and for them, Ecuador is a place where they find the people that is very, very nice and very, very helpful towards,
Okay.
expats living here.
Cool. So you've definitely convinced me. I'm ready to move to Ecuador. What are my options? What are some of the most popular programs?
Well, the most popular options we have is the the pensionado visa for those who are receiving an income from Social Security. So they are the top list. Then we have the investor visa, and whether you invest in real estate, a Ecuadorian bank with a certificate of deposit, or shares in an Ecuadorian company, then you can get a visa as an investor. The third option is the digital nomad visa. It's for those who can work remotely, and as long as you have a contract that allows you to work from anywhere and you have a minimum income, then you are set to go. You are ready to apply for that, for the digital nomad visa. We
Hmm.
have the professional visa, and the last I can say is the work visa.
Okay. What's the difference between the work visa and the professional visa?
Yeah, the professional visa was created for those who have college education. The government
Oh
policy
yeah. So
behind,
you register your diploma and that one.
yeah, the
Okay.
government, they want to have educated people coming to live in Ecuador, because at some point that knowledge is going to be transferred from that foreigner to the local Ecuadorian here in Ecuador.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So just to maybe summarize for people, the pensionado slash rentista visa is good for people with passive income of at least $1,000 a month. Is it 1,000 or is
Yeah,
it 1,250 or?
yeah. The minimum income is three minimum monthly wages.
Uh-huh.
And the Ecuadorian monthly wage for 2025 is $470. So three times that is $1,410 to qualify for the pensionado visa or the rentista visa.
Okay. So it's the same income number for both rentista and pensionado.
Yeah, actually for all type of visas.
Okay. Uh, so for people with passive income, that's kind of the option there. Or this is a cool one. People who have a college diploma, a 4 year, I believe it has to be a 4 year university degree. You can just basically register that, put that on file with the Ecuadorian Ministry of Education, some sort of ministry, right? And you can get residency that way.
Yeah, yeah,
Or you can do the, if you don't have a 4 year degree, you can do the investor visa. And it sounds like there's a couple of ways to qualify for that. I think the most common one is to put, what is it, $47,000 in the bank?
yes, $47,000 in 2 year, 720 days CD. And for you to know, and probably you don't know this, or maybe you do, is the interest rate in Ecuador. You can get interest rate between 7.5 to sometimes 11% interest annual rate.
Hmm. And that's on the US dollar. For people who are unaware, that Ecuador uses the US dollar, so there's no currency risk.
Yes, no currency risk. That's one of the biggest things we have in Ecuador, that we have the US dollar
Mhm.
as currency.
Cool. So, I put 47K in the bank over 2 years. First year it goes up maybe $4,000. I guess 2 years. So you kind of get paid to get residency in Ecuador. I assume is there a marriage visa too? There must be. Like if someone's married to an Ecuadorian, what happens in that situation?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the dependent visa. The
Hmm.
dependent visa is for those. I mean, for those who don't fit or don't meet the requirements of the visas that I mentioned, or for those who are married to. I mean, of course, for those who are married to an Ecuadorian, then they can get the visa here in Ecuador, the residency visa.
The sort of family unification.
Yes, correct. Whether it's a common law marriage, same sex marriage, that's a same sex common law decree. So that's another option.
Okay. And all of these visa types, do they all start on temporary? Do they all start with the 2 year temporary and then they renew to permanent after the 2 years? Or are some of these visa types different where maybe they're direct to permanent or just different in some ways?
Yeah. Um, First, you have to go for temporary residency visa, and that this visa is issued for 2 years. Then, if after 21 months, and within this window of 21 months, if you don't live more than 90 days, then you become eligible to apply for permanent residency visa. Once you become permanent resident, I mean, you don't have to do anything else. But with the temporary residency visa, you can renew that visa as many times you want. If you stayed in Ecuador more than 90 days, the first 21 months, you can renew as many times you want.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you're a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Haltza, author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income by implementing his paycheck multiplication layering method. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, if you're interested in unleashing your earning potential and doubling your income, then click the link in the description and book a call with Rolf right now. Okay. And I just wanted to check. So, do like all the visa types get 2 year temporary to start? Doesn't matter which visa. Even the marriage visa is 2 year temporary to start.
Yeah, if you're married to an Ecuadorian, you can go directly to a permanent residency visa.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
What about if
If
you have a baby? What if you have a baby in Ecuador? Do you get permanent residency?
yeah. You can get permanent residency if you have a baby. If you get a baby here in Ecuador, you have a baby.
Okay, cool. So sounds like marriage and family reunification, or let's just call it the baby visa. Those ones go straight to permanent. Are there any ones other than that that go straight to permanent, or all the other ones start on temporary?
No, yeah, only those two options. If you're married to an Ecuadorian or if you have a baby in Ecuador, those will be your only two options to go direct for the permanent residency visa. For the rest of the visas, you have to go first for temporary.
Okay. And we'll come back to the normal path of temp to PR in a second, but I was just curious about this. So, um, if someone marries an Ecuadorian or has a baby in Ecuador, they start on PR, and then is it a 3 year path to citizenship then?
Yeah, yeah. Once you become permanent resident, you what the law requires is the applicant must have been residing as permanent resident 3 years,
Mhm.
and each year they can now be outside of Ecuador more than 90 days.
Right. So 270 days a year
Yeah, but no, 270 days for the first 3 years.
for
You
the
only
first
can
three
be,
years
yeah, outside of
to
Ecuador
qualify for citizenship and to
to
maintain the
qualify for
PR.
citizenship. Mhm.
And that's also the same to maintain the PR, or maintaining the PR is a little bit different, right? It's only the first 2 years of PR.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. For permanent residency, you can be outside of Ecuador up to 180 days each
Hmm.
year, the first 2 years. After the second year of your permanent residency, you can be outside of Ecuador up to 2 years. And if you come and at the anniversary of the second year of you being outside, then you come for one day and then you can leave for another 2 years as long as you don't leave more than consecutively 2 years
Uh-huh.
for you to be outside of Ecuador.
Okay, cool. And so once I've done my 2 years and I've done over 180 days per year in those first 2 years, and then it's one visit every 2 years after that, like one day every 2 years at that point.
Yeah, basically, you can do that.
Because that's a lot of countries have that. Like Panama has that too. Me, I'm a permanent resident of Panama, and to maintain my permanent residency in Panama, you have to go for one day every 2 years, or you're at risk of losing it. So it's kind of the same with Ecuador. After you've like earned it, quote unquote, after those initial couple of years, to after that to maintain it, it's similar to Panama, one day every 2 years. I'm not hearing you. Did you do something with your mic there?
Okay, now you can hear me.
No. Yeah, yeah. Now I can hear
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it's how you explain it. It's accurate. The law doesn't explain it that way, but as long as you don't stay more than 2 years outside of Ecuador under the permanent residence visa, you are fine. You are completely fine to maintain to your permanent residency visa.
you. Okay. Cool. Cool. That sounds good. Um, okay. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing for people, but at the same time, I know people really like this level of detail, and it can be hard to get information like this sometimes. So for the right person, they really appreciate this level of detail because they want to know, right, if they're going to go through the
Mhm.
process of getting residency. Um, they want to know what the path to citizenship looks like, and obviously, it is a little bit. I don't want to say onerous, but like obviously, you do need to spend the majority of the year there for basically 4 straight years in order to work towards citizenship and also to work towards PR to get it to a point where you can maybe do one day a year if you didn't want citizenship for whatever reason. Um, and then coming back to the TR, so people are able to, if they don't meet the days threshold, I think this is an overlooked thing. People can just keep renewing the temporary residency, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can renew as many times you want. It's only if you decide to go for permanent residency visa that you need to keep in mind you have to be residing in Ecuador for 21 months. Within these 21 months, you cannot be outside more than 90 days. Then you get your permanent residency visa. You can stay as permanent resident for the rest of your life in Ecuador. You have 90% of the rights as an Ecuadorian. The only rights that you probably will be missing is the right to have a passport and the right to vote. But if it depends on each person, after 3 years of permanent residency, they become eligible to apply for the citizenship. But it depends on each individual case what their plan is regarding state planning, taxes, or having a second passport for security. I know a lot of people they are basically getting passports in Western Europe and in South America, Panama, but Ecuador absolutely is an option if you want to apply for the citizenship in Ecuador. As you said, it depends on the commitment that person they want to have about staying in Ecuador.
Cool. Thank you for that. And I think beyond the days test, the one other thing I was I think people might want to know, and I wanted a bit of clarification on is it's like you need to show some economic solvency or proof of income, right? When you're
Yeah.
going towards citizenship. So does that have to be like a local source of income, or what are you seeing works as being, what the government wants to see? Because a lot of people might not have local source income. So what do people show for that economic solvency piece of it when it comes to applying for citizenship?
Okay. All right. This is a red tape tip. Most of our clients, and especially people coming from, I mean, who have a steady income. Most of our clients, they got. I mean, if you're qualified and you speak English in Ecuador, you can get a decent job in the country. As I said at the beginning, Ecuador is a good country for expats because you have a wide variety of opportunities here just because you speak English. So the requirement as an income is you must prove that you have a Ecuadorian monthly minimum wage income for the last 12 months, whether it's in Ecuador or in an account overseas. As long as you can prove that you have 470 US dollars for
Okay.
2025,
So it could be
then
overseas.
yeah,
So I could just show like my US bank account or my US tax return or something, and that would be enough.
no, only the your bank account. And here's another tip. Probably you have savings. You have $100,000 in savings. You say, well, I have enough money. The requirement and what the government they want to see is the steady income. Whether if
Mhm.
you have two accounts and you are depositing from account A to account B every month, $500 or $470, then you
Uh-huh.
will be covered. You don't have to worry about anything.
Okay. And so I guess one way you could cover that would be to put around like 50K in the bank in Ecuador, because that would earn about $500 a month of interest, right? So
Yeah.
that would probably fit the bill for this 12 months thing.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Just make sure
So
that your I'm sorry. Just make sure that your interest gets paid every month, not annually.
Okay, so they want to see the monthly piece of it. That makes sense. So it's not just about savings in the bank. So either get paid monthly interest on, some sort of deposit in Ecuador, or just send money to maybe an Ecuador bank account every month, like or transfer between accounts 500, 500, 500, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. You will be covered.
Okay, sounds like pretty easy to address one way or another, but it's one of those things that people don't realize, right? It might catch them
Oh
off guard.
well, that's one of the biggest mistakes, and a lot of people they come to our office and they say, I mean, I have they fulfill everything, all the checkbox, but they don't have 12 months bank statements showing the minimum income of Ecuador.
Hmm.
So that application will be rejected.
Interesting. Any other big mistakes?
Um, no, most of the cases has been because of that, and the second is when they live more than 90 days each year. The first 3 years of permanent residency.
Hmm.
That's a big one too. That's the big one that disqualify applicants.
Okay. And how do they verify that? Is it by the records with Migraciones doing the entrances and exits, or is it more about the stamps in the passport, or both?
Both. There is a pretty meticulous system at immigration here in Ecuador when you are entering or leaving. So you, you will be getting a report of all your entries and exits, and then it will be counted how many days you have been outside of Ecuador.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. Okay, that makes sense. Really cool. Yeah, it's an underrated passport. If people don't realize, it has things like visa-free China. I'm not sure. Have you ever taken advantage of that? You ever been to China, man?
No, I haven't.
You got visa-free China, bro. You gotta go.
Yes, I must. Recently, I have a lot of friends who have been going there, but yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah, it's kind of an uncorrelated passport compared to a lot of the other passports in the Americas, where it
Hmm.
has visa-free Russia, I think visa-free Iran, um,
Yes.
visa-free China, as I mentioned, and like a couple other things that most other passports in this region don't have.
Yeah, that's correct. But if you want to go to China, you will always find uh, good flight tickets. I mean, leaving from the US. So Ecuadorians, they need to get a visa to the US. So
Oh, to get the flight.
yeah, to get the flight.
That's
So
funny.
for Ecuadorians, it's just like it's a little bit hard to get visas to the US.
Well, if you got both, if you got US and Ecuador, I mean,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
you
you're
go.
done. You're done.
Actually, speaking of, that is where I wanted to take the conversation next. Is one service that I'm getting a lot of requests for right now is Ecuador Citizenship by Descent. I put out a couple of YouTube videos about this topic, and people started booking calls with me, and that's actually kind of how Marcos, you and I really got in touch, as I needed help with
Mhm.
citizenship by descent cases. So maybe you could talk a bit about citizenship by descent in Ecuador. Give us a bit of an overview. Speak to the Ecuadorian Americans out there.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I can speak from first-hand experience. My parents they emigrated to Venezuela back in the 70s, and I was born outside of Ecuador. Both of my parents are Ecuadorians. I got registered at the consulate, and then once I started living in Ecuador back in 2000, I got my Ecuadorian cedula, I got my Ecuadorian birth certificate. So basically, if a person they haven't registered their kids, or if you are an adult and you were not registered at the Ecuadorian consulate while you were, your parents when you were born in the U.S. or Canada, basically what you have to do is to comply with 3 requirements. First, your parents a birth certificate, cedula, or passport, any ID that will allow us in Ecuador, will allow the civil register, the registro civil, to find the records of the Ecuadorian parents. The second requirement is the birth certificate of the applicant, where the names it has to
Match.
match
Yeah.
with the mom, Ecuadorian mother or the Ecuadorian father. So that's a must, because if there is any change in the names, we will need to link those change of names, so it will be extra documents. If not, if that's not the case, then only the birth certificate and the applicant's birth certificate of the parents and the applicant's birth certificate will be sufficient. And the third requirement, which actually is pretty new, this is the registro civil. They're asking for 5 witnesses, and they have to be family related to the applicant or the mom or Ecuadorian dad. So it's 5 people that they are Ecuadorians. It is not necessary for them to be in Ecuador. They can be overseas as long as they have WhatsApp number where they can identify themselves as Ecuadorians, because in our Ecuadorian cedulas we have a code, a unique code. So that person will be asked to share with the civil register over the phone that code. And the main question they're going to be asked if they know the applicant and if they know if the child of the person that he or she saying is the child. So basically, it's that obtaining the documents in the US or Canada, it takes probably 1 month or maybe something a little bit less. In Ecuador, the process for that it takes between 3 to 4 weeks. But here is a disclaimer: if the mom or dad they pass away, then it has to be dig deeper into the registration at the civil register in Ecuador, and that process probably can take maybe 3 or 4 months.
Mm.
So this is just something to consider because we have a lot of cases like this, and actually we were talking about this at the office because we have a couple of cases like this. So we need to find out how to fix this to help our clients. It's not the end of the world, but it's something to consider in terms of if the person is planning to come to Ecuador and get their nationality, get their birth right to get an Ecuadorian citizen. So that's something very very special to consider. If you have your parents alive, then you're ready to go. And the process takes between 4 to 6 weeks in Ecuador to get your birth register within the Ecuadorian government civil register.
Okay, cool. So I definitely have lots of like nitpicky questions because I know things come up, and that's what people want to know about. It's never simple, right?
No.
Um, there's always something. So the 3 pillars you mentioned: birth certificate or proof from the parent, birth certificate from the applicant, and then 5 witnesses. So I do have a couple questions about each one of these pillars.
Sure.
Um, so regarding the birth certificate of the parent, you mentioned it doesn't have to be the birth certificate. It could maybe be the cedula or the passport or the something like that. Baptism records, maybe.
No, baptism record, no. Only a cedula, passport, or a copy, an old copy of the birth certificate. That
Okay.
will be sufficient.
So they just need an old copy. It doesn't have to be original and apostille. They just need an old copy so that you guys can look it up.
Yes, yes. We will be confirming and just making sure that we can get an updated copy because back in the days, those birth certificates were issued handwritten.
Yeah,
So right now they are printed, so it's different. So we have to make sure that the registration, the birth certificate of the parent,
makes sense.
we have an updated copy.
Okay, no, that makes sense because I think I even had a case where the applicant was like, "I have my parents' expired passport, but I don't have their birth certificate or something." So
Yeah.
That's good that that could maybe work, and that's enough to sort of look it up.
Yes.
Okay. Um, okay. And then birth certificate of the applicant, pretty straightforward. Do you deal with a lot of cases of mismatched names? Like, because sometimes, well, I guess the most common one is if they're born in the US or Canada, they won't have two last names, right? So they'll have one last name. It's not going to be Lopez Lopez. It's just going to be Lopez, right? And then,
Yes.
so is that an issue or is that easy to overcome?
No, I mean, that's something that is understood at the civil register. It's not new, because back in the days, Ecuador sent a lot of immigrants to other countries, including the US.
Hmm.
So out of, I don't know, maybe out of 10 Ecuadorians, maybe there is 7 families or maybe 8 families that they had someone in the past living abroad,
Uh-huh.
living
Wow. That's very
who
high. Okay.
yeah, it is. It is. So I mean, you come to Ecuador and you can ask if you have a family member, or you know that someone in your family have emigrate to the U.S., Canada, Venezuela, Spain, Italy, different countries all around the world. So I mean, when those kids who were born in the U.S. and they come here, they know
Okay.
this
So the
Ecuadorian.
I guess the last name one is easy. What if it sometimes it's like the first name, it'll be like Guillermo and then it'll be William in the US and it's like, hey, your documents don't match, things like that. But you can overcome all these little things like one letter differences and stuff.
Yeah, if that's the case, we had a case that we have a client that his, I mean, the dad, his Ecuadorian last name was Carlos, and then in the US, he started being Carlo
Uh-huh.
without the S.
Uh-huh.
So, so it's a completely different person before the law, but we can fix that with an affidavit,
Yeah.
or there is the proof of the change of the name.
Uh-huh.
So that's very easy to prove as long as we justify with paperwork. The people at the civil register, they want to make sure they're giving the right to become Ecuadorian to the right person.
Okay, cool. And then the third pillar, probably the most challenging. I'm sure some people heard this and they were like, shit, I got to find five cousins. Like, that's not going to be easy. So I've heard some people say it's actually four. So I've heard, is it four or is it five?
It's five,
It's definitely five.
five
Someone
definitely.
told me four.
Yeah, I don't know who, but maybe it was me. But I don't know. It's five.
Okay, so five testigos, five witnesses, and they have to be family. Like, how do they even know? Like, because they're not. How do they know it's family if they have like a different last name?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Es
as
el
I
primo de
said,
mi primo.
yeah. I mean, it's as I said, Ecuador. I mean, you can find a lot of people living outside, so they know, and it's not that hard. Ecuador is not a big country. Ecuador is a small country, and if you go to I mean, if you go to Manabi, it's it's like almost everyone is called Zambrano or Lord. So it's not that hard. So they will find out within the records if they're family related. So it's I mean, the hardest thing is to find those five. Then linking them between each other, that's the easiest part.
Okay, so you find the five, and do they have to be from the same side of the family that you're applying with? Like, let's just say both your parents were from Ecuador or something, but you were using your mom's records, but your dad's cousins are alive, and then like it could be any Ecuadorian essentially, or it has to be like from the same side.
No, it has to be from the same side. If you are using your dad because I don't know, maybe your mom passed away, It has to be everything, all the five witnesses coming from your dad's side.
Wow, that's pretty in depth. Jesus. I don't I like dude,
Yeah.
I do citizenship by descent for every country in Latin America and Europe, and I don't know any other country that does this.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I heard about this only recently. Um, Basically, like this year, I had no idea until this year because we've been getting more into citizenship by
Yeah.
descent. I had no idea. So this is very unique that
It
Ecuador
is.
does
It is.
this.
Actually, this requirement started being affected by the end of 2023. So it's
Oh,
pretty
it's
new.
new.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I mean, some people are going to be like, yo, everyone, like, some people will be like, my father was adopted or came over as a kid, came over with nobody. I don't even know my cousins. They're going to have to, like, they're going to have to show up in Ecuador and start knocking on some doors and being like, oye, eres mi primo.
Yeah.
¿Sabes qué? ¿Me puedes echar una mano con algo? I need a favor.
Yes. Yeah, basically that. We have a client right now that she's very talented, and she wants to participate at the Olympics, and she wants to become Ecuadorian because of that, because she has big chances to represent Ecuador. So we're helping her, and it's a little bit challenging because there's some missing paperwork, and I mean we have to work on this. But I know we're going to get it. But but those are very very unique special cases.
Okay. So, you know, if there's a will, there's a way, right? Well,
Yeah.
okay, cool, cool. And then one other citizenship by descent topic is one thing that's unique about Ecuador is I believe it's the only country in Latin America that can go all the way back to great grandparents, and certainly grandparents. So, and my understanding is you don't like uh, you can sort of pick up the citizenship like even if the parents passed away or the parents don't get it. Not that it skips a generation, but you can get it even if your parents haven't done it, if that makes sense. So if your grandparents were born in Ecuador, but your parents haven't done the Ecuador citizenship process yet, my understanding is you don't have to wait for your parents to do it first. You can just do it directly. Is that accurate?
Well, let me read you what the Constitution says. What the Constitution of Ecuador says about the obtaining, gaining the citizenship by birth is whether if your mom or dad they are Ecuadorians. So based on this, a person only can apply if their parents are Ecuadorians. It can be the grandparents too, but then the parents they have to get recognized by the Ecuadorian government as well.
Mm. The parents have to get recognized first.
Yes.
So you need that chain of events. Okay, so I spoke wrong then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But it's true that it can go all the way back to great grandparents. Is that a
Oh,
thing?
yes.
Is there
Mhm.
like a cutoff generation, or as long as each generation keeps registering, it's fine?
Yeah, as long they keep registering, that's fine because you have the birth right, the birth. To be Ecuadorians, to become Ecuadorians, as long as your parents are Ecuadorians. So I mean that applies for all generations.
So unlimited generations from an Ecuadorian descendant, as long as everyone registers.
Yes, correct.
I think a lot of countries in Latin America have this, and people don't realize it. That
Yeah.
as long as they register, like, because sometimes you'll see on the Wikipedia page or whatever, like, oh, only one generation, only the parents, which is kind of the case in Mexico and El Salvador in some of these countries. But what I'm kind of finding out is that it can basically go unlimited generations as long as they keep registering the subsequent generation. So even if it was the grandfather or great grandfather that was born in Ecuador, like you can keep going back as long as it's registered.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, I mean, what you said is correct. What exactly says in the law is the third generation. But if you have someone that is registered, of course, I mean, you continue that getting registered. Ecuador is not that old country, so this is like something that, I mean, third generations is not that far.
Yeah, yeah. It's very powerful when you think about it. Um, when you think about what kind of gift citizenship can be, not just for yourself, bless you.
Oh, thank you.
um, when you think about citizenship, not just for yourself, but the gift that you give to your children, right? And you think about the exponential effect of many generations. Hopefully, the laws stay the same that long. But let's just say you have 4 kids, and then they have 4 kids. I mean, that's 16 kids. And then those people have 4 kids. What's that, like 60 something kids, right? So just you getting citizenship, you could be giving 3 or 4 generations. You could give citizenship to like 100 different descendants. It's a very
Yes,
powerful thing.
it is. It is. Actually, it is. So yeah, yeah, it's something that Ecuador, I mean, is in our constitution. So and I think it was written because back in the times, first in the 60s, then the 70s, and then the end of the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of Ecuadorians they migrate. They went to start living in different countries, and of course, they. I mean, it's known that they were going to have kids over there. Kids they start raised as Americans or Europeans, but still they have the right to come back to Ecuador, and for Ecuadorians they have a lot of rights whenever they decide, like for example they can bring a container tax free with their households. They can bring a car. They cannot bring a motorcycle, but they can bring a car and the entire households from the U.S. If you compare in pricing, sometimes that's a good deal for them. So it's like making Ecuador attractive for those who uh, migrate and for those who were born outside of Ecuador to come back to the country.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that because people are going to contribute, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like me, I got Italian citizenship by descent. I feel like I owe Italy a favor now, and I want to do things for Italy. I want to invest. I want to contribute. But if they never gave me citizenship, I would have been like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Like, I mean, it's just like, yeah, I understand. Absolutely, that's the policy. The government they want to at some point to have all these kids um, bringing somehow incomes, resources, ideas, new business ideas, anything, whatever they learn abroad, uh, to make Ecuador like a country that is more developed.
Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. Yeah, definitely makes sense. I think it's a really good policy, honestly. I got one more sort of in the weeds question for you, a very specific question. Um, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer this, but I have heard that if somebody naturalizes as an Ecuadorian citizen, their kids, they can basically naturalize all their kids as Ecuadorian, even if they were born before or after the naturalization, doesn't matter. And even if they were born outside of Ecuador. So I'll give you an example. Let's just say I have two kids right now, and then next year I become Ecuadorian. Can I then make my two kids who are already born, can I make them Ecuadorian without living there? Or how would like, what's the option there?
Yes, as long as they are underage, they have the right to be Ecuadorian. Let's say your case, you become Ecuadorian because you live in Ecuador for 5 years.
Yeah.
Then because you got a lot of you succeed and you start having a lot of shows, you need to travel back to the US, Canada, different countries, and then you have a kid in Europe. That kid is Ecuadorian.
Well, that makes sense because I've already naturalized. So
Yeah.
I'm already Ecuadorian. But what about the kids that were born before I naturalized?
Oh, before.
So let's just say I had two kids. Like, let's just say I already have two children. I don't, but let's just say I have two children currently, you know, and then I naturalize Ecuadorian next year. I already have two kids running around. Can they immediately become Ecuadorian, or do they have, or what rights might they have?
Well, they can, in that case, they can apply for the same process as you did to for the naturalization process. They because legally you obtain the right to become Ecuadorian after they were born. So they need to follow the same route you took to become Ecuadorian. Permanent residency, then 3 years, and then they can apply. You can apply for them.
Uh,
You can apply. That's not a problem as long as they meet with the requirements. They have now left Ecuador more than 90 days. But what I'm
okay.
trying to say is they have to get the permanent residency visa first.
So
If they are,
they would
you're,
have to live there they would have to
yeah,
do the 5 years basically.
yes, absolutely. But all the
Okay.
kids have after you become Ecuadorian, they underage, until they become Ecuadorians if after 18 they say no, I don't want to be Ecuadorian. They can renounce to the Ecuadorian citizenship.
Okay. So anyone born after I naturalize becomes a citizen. That makes sense. That's pretty common. I thought there was a thing that even the ones that were already born get Ecuador citizenship, but I guess we have debunked that myth here on the podcast.
Yes, I'm with the law right now. I'm reading the Article 8 of the Constitution of Ecuador, and I just check on that.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Cool, man. No, this has been like super informative. I really appreciate this. It's been um, really illuminating in terms of the option for Ecuador, and I'm hopefully we did a good job of answering people's questions on the podcast.
Mhm.
Um, I want to be respectful of your time, though. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention about what we've talked about so far?
Well, I mean, um, Ecuador. I mean, it's a beautiful country. It's a very small country where you can go to the Galapagos. You can be on the coast, the highlands, and the Amazon the same day. Less than 24 hours, you can travel. And you can visit all these four different climates in Ecuador. We have the dollars and people. I mean, this is a country where you are going to be feel like part of the family. One thing is to be an expat where, I mean, you can go to the groceries and you can buy stuff, you can rent. If you have the money, you can live anywhere. You can live in France, you can live in Spain, Portugal, Mexico. But one thing that you cannot buy in those places is the love of the people. And here in Ecuador, they will make you feel that way. You will be felt like part of the family, love people. I mean, they're going to be taking care of you if you get sick. If you don't understand something, they will be looking after you. You get invited to the bautizos, to the quinceañeras, to the weddings. Yeah, so that's one big asset Ecuador has. If we compare our country with, I mean, other countries that are beautiful too, but if we compare this with Panama, Colombia, Mexico, Belize, Costa Rica, and all the European countries, where people they go there, I mean, they have the resources to buy beautiful stuff, buy eat in the best restaurants, but when you have to integrate to the community, Ecuador is the top place for that. And I can tell you 100% sure because I have clients that they speak about it, clients that they went to start living in Portugal, and they just decided to come back. And we're Ecuador. So this is their home country. This is where they feel at home, and that's something I want to share with everyone listening your podcast. I know your big audience, they will start researching about this, but this is something. I mean, that is. I mean, you have to test. You have to come and see how love you will be in Ecuador for the Ecuadorians.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we've done a couple Ecuador podcasts in the past. You've had a couple different retirees in Ecuador, and they've all had a great experience. I enjoyed my time in Ecuador a lot. I couldn't believe how nice Cuenca was. I mean, the weather was perfect. The mountains were so green. The like quality of the infrastructure was excellent. It was like better than Medellin. The quality of like the buildings were just nicer, and the highway was in great shape, and everything was just like great, particularly about Cuenca. But Ecuador, I think, is very underrated. Like the nature is crazy. The
Yes.
different regions, the mountains. You got the Amazon, the mountains, the beach. The nature is absolutely crazy. Like
Yes.
10 out of 10. So I know this podcast episode was a little bit cold hearted, I guess you could say, or all about the dollars and cents, or all about the rules and the
Yeah.
exact number of days, blah blah blah. But I know that's what people want to hear. But um, the qualitative aspect of Ecuador, the nature, the low cost of living, um, everything, you're spot on for sure.
Yes, yes, perfect. Yeah, I'm glad. I hope this, and I know this will reach a lot of audience, and this will become viral.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best.
Yeah.
We'll promote it together. Um, where can people find you? Any final message you want to share with the audience?
Yes, absolutely. Well, come to Ecuador. Let's try. We're here to make the transition very smooth. All the processes are very straightforward. The core of our business are weekly updates. The core of our business at Equasys is like the communication. And I mean, we have been in this business for a while now, and for us, we really we love what we do here. It's families, it's life, it's dreams that we're taking care of. So we're here to serve you.
Amazing. Well, thanks for doing this. Was awesome to get an Ecuador expert on. I think it's a super underrated country. And for the people at home, the audience, we can take care of you for any visa and relocation needs in Ecuador, whether you're a digital nomad, whether you're an expat family or a retiree. There's something in Ecuador for everyone of every age group. And there's a visa that you probably qualify for every type of person as well. So really a lot of flexibility in that sense. So if you guys would like to explore Ecuador visa options in more detail or citizenship by descent, I know we talked a lot about that. There's going to be a link in the description. You can book a call with us and we're going to get you on the path to residency, citizenship, passport in Ecuador, helping you with the relocation journey, everything you guys need. So link in the description to speak to us personally and take action on what you heard today. But yeah, this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Marcos from Ecuador. And subscribe to the podcast, guys. Wherever you're listening to this, we put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Marcos, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now.